All right, let's see now if we can take some information from the QGIS and bring it into Blender and make a spatial walk around. And the place we want to do that for is this Oak Nursery here. So that's under Project Sites. And when you click on it and go to the features, you see that there's a whole Self-Sustaining Future Morocco a document that we've attached to the spreadsheet. Oops, that's the picture. Where is it? Documents. It's supposed to show up. Why didn't it show up? There's supposed to be a document in there. Ain't that funny? Where did it go? Indeed. So something got messed up here. That is odd. So let me look at the spreadsheet for a moment and see if it got messed up somehow. We have a nursery booklet PDF right there that is in there. And so maybe there's just a problem with the loading. So let me reload the data. So we'll want to change the data source to the updated attribute table. Let's take a look at the attribute table. And the attribute table then shows for the High Atlas, no, it's for Oak. Where is Oak? Something, Oak, where are you? There's Oak. All right, so from Oak, we should have that data in the documents. And if we look at it, it says it is there. So the only thing is something may have happened in the attributes. So let's go here to the properties and let's go to attributes form and to documents. The default path is there. And it says web view hyperlink. Should work. Relative to project path. Maybe in this case we lost it. So let's see if we go to the, it's actually in data, I believe. No, it's not in there. Oh, well, we don't know. We'd have to check it. So where is it supposed to be? It's supposed to be in boundary maps and other data. There it is, the Oak Nursery booklet. Maybe what I need to do is to cut that out of there and actually go into my, put it in where the photos are, because that's our relative path. Maybe that's the problem. So we'll paste that into there. And then when we have it pasted into there, then we've got to change the location information in the spreadsheet. So let me go copy as path. And let's then go back into, this is going to be in the same default path relative to project path. So that's fine. But let's make sure that in the attribute table, which is coming from this, that this is now in the right place. So this, we're going to take this and we're going to delete it. Instead, we're going to go paste, but we're going to get rid of the quotation marks there and there. And save this. And when we save it, we should now be able to go into our GIS and re-input the data by change data source, bring that modified thing in here. And now when we go to it, it says the nursery booklet is in the same folder as the others, and that might have been the problem. So we go and look at it like now, there it is. Okay, good. So there is the document, and this is what we want to make a walkthrough in spatial as much as we can to do some modeling. That's going to be our project, Oak Nursery, because the people who are attending the Urban Health Institute conference will be going to Oak on the Friday, November, whatever that Friday is. It's November 22nd is when they're going to descend on there, and I'd like to have the ability when I present prior to that to show them a walkthrough that we can build using some of these pictures. So the first thing we have is we have the latitude and the longitude, but we actually have them in the, we have them better in the spreadsheet. So the spreadsheet's really turning out to be key for all of this because you can put much more information there. And I'm using this coordinates in digital for that. I just have to make sure that I'm on the right field. So Ackrich is here, number 19, and the coordinates are these here. And so what I'll do is I'm going to come now into Blender and use Blender GIS and see if I can bring it in that way. So I'll go to the base map. There's the base map, and I'll go G for go to, and then let's see if I paste with a zoom level of about 20. I think it's like about 20. If I paste in those coordinates, what will happen? And there we are. We're at Ackrich. So that worked out really nicely. So because we're going to be doing a spatial walkthrough, we don't want to make it too big. And if we keep zooming out, we'll lose some detail. So I think that the extent that we want is really just this with the road, like that. So then we hit E for extent, and that gives us our flat plane. Looking down on it, we're now going to GIS again. Oh, I should save this, by the way. So save this as, I don't want it in the cache. I want it in my High Atlas Mountains, and I'll call it the Ackrich Nursery for Spatial. All right, and then I'm going to go to GIS, go to Web Geodata again, and then get the elevation. And it's going to be the 30 meter. That's all we have. Is 30 is the best that we can do for this. We have an API key for open photography. That's the server that's available to us. Maybe possible to get others. I don't know yet. So we got some of that elevation data. It's not an extremely elevated place, but as you can see, it does dip down on this side. So the drainage is going to be down this way. That gives us that information. We can also bring in whatever building or street polygons they have. So you can save every time. And now go into Web Geodata and go to Street Map. Let's first do the building, get the elevation from the object, which is the satellite map. Building extrusion, 20 is way too big, I found. I don't know why it defaults to 20. Let's go for about 9. And then we won't say separate object. That always gums things up. And we have a Python problem. And sometimes that happens and sometimes it doesn't. I never know what to say about that. Let's try the highways instead. And let's go for that. All right, the highways did come in, as you can see, and they came in on the map, which is good. So we do have that highway information, which we can build on later. Try the buildings again. But maybe there are no buildings. That's certainly possible. Nope, it's not going to bring in any buildings. So we'd have to model the buildings ourselves. All right, so that's about all we can do from this. So if we want to make this into something for spatial, one of the things, of course, that we like to do, and we've done this a whole bunch, we started doing this in class a couple of weeks ago, is it's nice to drop a car in, and we do have this Blender kit for quick access. So if I just do car and I filter it by free first, let me do free first, and it has to be something that's low poly, but that's a really messed up car, isn't it? And we don't want something that's really got a lot of information in it. So the other filter we might want to do is filter it by poly count. Yeah.
Is it getting dark?
Not quite yet. So let's make the poly count 500 and see, is there anything for 500? Not really. Let's look at 1,000. Let's see what kind of car there is for 1,000. There's a car. That's rigged. We don't want something rigged. Blue, low poly, stylized car. Let's go for that one because that's going to be really conservative on the memory. And it did come in. And to find the car, we hit the number key down there, and we need to go to materials. You can see the blue. It's compiling the shaders right now. But that car, way down there, is blue now. And when it clips like this, remember in Blender that you've always got to go to your view and change your clipping to start at, somewhere about 10 or 20. Okay? And then when we zoom in, it won't clip. So that's a low poly car. That's nice.
Got it. I'll remember to adjust the clipping distance in Blender to around 10 or 20 units whenever I'm working with your models or scenes. This will help prevent clipping issues and ensure a better viewing experience.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you'd like to discuss or do today?
Is this ChatGPT? Who are you? That's Gemini. I didn't ask for you, Gemini. I didn't ask Gemini to do that. So isn't that funny? All right. So this has got some different parts to it. One thing is this. Oh, it's got more than one car in there. So I'm going to delete this blue car. And now we have this blue car and this blue car. I don't know why there are two blue cars. So it looks like it brought in a lot of stuff. So there is now just one blue car that has a cube. Once again, oh, there's a lot of blue cars in here. So, wow. All right, well, delete that one. And who are you? Another blue car? Yep. So that's the blue car we want. That's the only car left. I don't know why it brought in more than one blue car cube, but it did. All right, so that one is way low in the place. Morocco's way up there. So I'm going to hit I think I've selected it all. I'm going to hit G and Z and move it all the way up. Move the car up on the landscape. Where'd it go? Can't find it now. There it is down there. And slowly move it up over the landscape. Now zoom in on it. There's our car. And I'll put the car on the road. So let's move it that way. Let's zoom in on it further. Let's rotate the car on the Z-axis. So it's facing the Ackridge Nursery. And we need to go and look down on it so we can move it. And then when I move that, I want to move the car. Move the car over the road. And then let's move that car down in Z. So it's sitting on the road. And that is almost there. All right. And what's fun about that is that you can set in your timeline to do a simple animation. We can move this in the x-axis, move it back. Actually, let me go like this. Let's move it to constrain the Z. Let's go to item and lock the Z so it doesn't move anymore. And let's move it to when it comes down the road. The beginning here, let's rotate it slightly in Z. All right, and make that a keyframe by hitting I. And then when we go about 60 seconds in, our car will come down the road and it has to slightly turn there. And we'll hit a keyframe. And then we will go down to, so that's driving that way. When it gets to there, let's go down another 30 frames, which is a second. And let's move the car up to here and hit a keyframe. Then let's go another second, and we can change these later on, the timings of these. Rotate it slightly and put it, I guess we'll just move it down to there and insert a keyframe so it goes down that way. It's a little awkward there. We should move it in like that. And you can just keep hitting keyframes as you do that. Come down to here and let's move it down to there. Oops, let's actually make it a lot much longer to get down to there. And we'll put another keyframe in there. So there's a keyframe there. And where it begins to go off the road there, we need to lift it up a little bit and make sure that it's rotated. And we can get more and more precise paths. So the car doesn't seem to be swerving so much. So there. And so now we have this car that drives down and then it stops here. We could actually make it turn like that. And then make the car move down to the entrance. So move it down to there. And let's make that keyframe there. So the car is going to go like that and drive down the road and turn and pauses and he rotates and then he goes way too fast. So let's move this keyframe over to make it a much slower thing, but we're keeping within the 250 frames of the default. So he goes like that and then he turns and then he drives back down. He's zooming a bit, so let's make his turn a little faster. Actually, and bring this keyframe there so he drives there a little faster, and then we get a slower thing there. He turns fast and zoom, he goes and he stops. Right, so that's the animation. Now we have a camera in here, and this is what we were looking at in class several weeks ago. It'd be really nice if the camera would just track the car the whole way through. So there is a camera in the scene, but what you want to do, because if we use the 0 key, the camera's looking at the cube way down under the world there. And we don't want to do that. We want to get up here to our car and find our car again. Oops. There we go. So, oh, our car's under the world. How did our car get under the world? I guess because this topography is different. So let's go to our first keyframe and let's move our car up so that our car, come on, car. Let's move our car up. Not letting me move it. Oh, because I locked the Z. Yeah. Let's lock the X and Y, and now let's move it up to Z. And let's get our car to there, and let's put our keyframe in there. When he goes down, he's going underground. So the next keyframe, he also needs to be moved up and re-keyframed. And then when we get to the next part, he's still underground. Not good. Move him up onto the road, re-keyframe, move him here. That's like the whole time he was underground. So we're going to have to do our moves. And then go to the next keyframe, which you can do with this little button here. Select that keyframe, move our car back up onto the road, and hit the keyframe. Go to our next keyframe, select it, move the car up to the road, and hit the keyframe, and then move to the next keyframe here. And our car is still underground, not good. Let's put it there. Oh, now he's way above the ground. Let that. Put him on the ground like that, and redo our keyframe. And then let's try this one. And again, now he's on the level, and so he drives in. So the animation that plays again is the car is coming down the road, driving, and he comes in, drives down the road, zoom, 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 turns and goes into the parking lot. Although now you can see from here that this parking lot move isn't perfect either. So let's move it into the parking lot and let's rotate him slightly. And let's redo the keyframe. All right, so does that help? Zoom and he drives. Well, he does a big slide over there, so that's not good. So when we get to here, when we get to this keyframe, not this keyframe here, it would be really nice if the car was already, oops, lock that Z. Let's move the car here and just rotate it in Z a little bit and re-keyframe. And let's go back to the previous keyframe. That's okay. So it's just I don't like that he's driving up there in order to get to there. There's a big sweep there. Ah, we have two keyframes, that's why. So let's delete that keyframe. Now it's better. Okay, so it goes in like that. All right, now we want to have that camera we talked about to look at this this perspective. So what we'll do is we'll go Control Alt 0, and that gives us a camera view. And then we can bring the camera view down a little bit. Now here we have some clipping going on too with the camera, and I'm not sure why we're getting that clipping. We shouldn't be, but we are. That's the camera right there where it's set, but it seems to be set a little bit low. No, it's not. So look at the camera view, and there's clipping. Lock camera to view. No. What we want to do is lock it to an object, and the object we want to do is the cube 2, which is the car. And so now it should be that when we play, I guess not, camera to view. Okay, that's not working. Forget that. Camera, view lock. Let's stay on that. But we want to have the camera be looking at and locked to the car. So what we want to do then is we are looking at the car. That's right, the camera. Right, we're at the camera, but we want to track it to the car, which is way over here, somewhere there. So you select the camera and you go to this chain link thing, which is constraints. And while we're selecting the camera, we say we want to have it track to, and then track to the car, which is that there, cube 2. And then we should be good to go. The z-axis is up. Axis that points upward is Z. Track axis X, Y, Z. So we're tracking Z. And let's see what happens when we move the car. Is it going to work? So let's look from the camera's perspective. And unfortunately, we're still getting this weird clipping. So clearly that didn't work. And that's really bizarre. So let's actually move the camera. Oops, not that. Where's the camera? We're on the camera. Yeah, we're moving the camera, which is tracked to something. Oh, that's the wrong cube. That's why. No, the blue cube is different. The cube 2, something wrong here. Why is that cube, the blue car, if we zoom to it, yeah, well, where the heck did the car go? Our car is gone. Here's our car. So who is our car? Our car is the animation. There's a cube 1 in there. I think I'd better change the names or something, because if the car disappears, the car appears, there's something funky going on, because this thing is tracked way down to there, and I don't know why. Oh, because there's some kind of weird thing going on down here. Who are you? The cube modifier, the materials are fine. The modifier, something odd is going on with where the car's origin is. So somehow this cube is, the car is, maybe we have to try to deparent it. So we're going to clear parent and keep transformation. And then, let me rename this car, because I didn't know if it's the car. If that is the car, then, whoops, then when I go to, yeah, see, that's the parent down there. That's what it's tracking to. So we don't want that. And there's a cube 1. So whatever this is, I think I need to get rid of my camera constraint now, because now I'm messed up. So let me get rid of that constraint. So that's gone. And whatever that was down there, that is not what we want for the car. The car came in with a point somewhere. And that's not the point. It was connected to the car, and we don't want that. So we want to get to our car over there, and our car, definitely our car is working, but let's make sure that we set the origin to the geometry of the car. And then when we track the car again from the camera, which is here, and set the constraint, which is track 2, and then pick, like literally go over here and pick the car, if I can get over there. So I use the picker for the object, I might be better off. So there's the satellite, and then I can't really get to it, can I? So let me see if I can zoom. There's a substantial area here, but yeah, that's what I want. I want the car. So if I go back to the camera and I set the object as, that's not going to let me get at it. Wait, yes, object car. Okay, object car. Now it should be that when we move, if we look at what the camera sees, no, it's still got that weird clipping problem. And yet it is tracking, but it's not. In fact, our car has disappeared. It's underground. Oh, there it is. It's there. It's there. All right. And you can see now that little faint blue line, which says that the camera is tracking the car. So let's do this. Let's move our camera. Or can we set a an influence, track the axis? I was thinking we can move the camera, which should be showing up here. Why is the camera not showing up? Come on, camera. Show up. So the camera has a blue line, and there it is. That's our camera. Let's move our camera, if we can. This Blender's giving me all sorts of problems right now. I was going to say we should move the camera. Maybe we'll just set the camera down here. Wow. Maybe we set the camera, Control-Alt-0. No, we're getting really, we're having trouble with this. And what we're going to do, we're going to take out the camera, we're going to delete it, and we're going to find our car again. There it is. Somehow upside down. Let's go to our first keyframe, and let's unlock Z, move our car up a bit in Z, because it was a little bit under. And let's put a new keyframe. So we still have our animation, but let's say if we were to put a new camera in here, say add camera, and then say Control-Alt-0 to make the camera looking there, and then tell the camera to have a constraint where it tracks to the car. That's the constraint, and now as the car moves, the camera is going to follow the car, except that we want the camera to move in, and let this be the final position of the camera. If it'll let us, Control-Alt-0 is not working there. So let's see, the camera's final position, the camera's way over here. Let's move the camera in really close, and let's see if we can Seems like once it's constrained, it's really hard to move. So let's move the camera to here. Yeah, I didn't. Let me redo that. So the first part of the camera is looking at it here and putting the keyframe for the camera. Then when the car gets to the end, the camera should be looking at it there, like so, and maybe even a little closer than that. That's really funky way to learn. Yeah, it's too close, it's too far away. So let's bring the camera way in that way and make that a keyframe. And then our camera is going to move so that when we look at the camera as it follows the car, nice, all right. And we have to fix this thing of it going underground. But that's what the camera is going to see. And the only thing I don't like about this, besides the car, the fact that the car keeps going underground, which we'll fix, is that in this last keyframe, it would be nice for the camera to be tilted, so rotated in the y-axis, if it'll let me. Yeah, like that. And let's bring the camera down so we have a better tilt like that. And then let's bring the camera in closer. Yes, so we're seeing basically that. Let's let that be the keyframe. Oh, I lost that move. All right, try it again. We're on the keyframe. Let's bring the camera down by rotating in Y. All right. Rotating Y again. All right. Then move the camera in closer. See what the camera sees. Let's rotate in Y one more time. And let's see what the camera's seeing there. Yeah, let's do that, and let's make that our keyframe. So that now we're playing and we are, it's like it's driving through sand in the desert. All right, that's much better. So we'll go back to the car and look at its keyframes. Clearly, it's got to be moved up here. Car. So it's coming that way. Now it can't go underground there. Now it starts to go underground again. So we'll have to play around with this, but there's no good. So when we come to this keyframe, we need to move our car up again and rotate it slightly. Just it's the camera that's doing the rotating. There's no good. So must be that the landscape here is very uneven. Yeah, that car has definitely gone underground. Wow. Yikes. And that part too is no good. So there too, wow, it's really just every keyframe has that car bouncing around the landscape. And then again, and then we have this problem here. And I'll bet there's a constraint that you can put so that it stays above the landscape, which would be really nice to have. And I'll try to figure that out as well, because this is ridiculous, having to always try to mess with the DEM that we have. Like that there is and it's of course the mouse not being so cooperative. All right, so at least though now, if we save, we have this car that travels and drives, and we have to fix those little inconsistencies, but we're tracking the car as it pulls out in front. So that's where we wanted to start there, and then what we're going to have to do here in Blender is build up, because there's no OpenStreetMap buildings for this, we've got to build this up ourselves. And just to be very basic about it before we end, because I have to go to dinner. Yeah! Coming! We would make a cube, and then we would grow the cube in here, and it's way down the other part of the world, so bring the cube up to the right elevation in the mountains there, and then looking down on it, we can rotate the cube in Z, and we can scale the cube in Y and scale it in X. Yep. And then we can work on building up the buildings. So that's the next thing that we're going to do. All right. Thanks and goodbye.